fact, the cannabis industry is here to stay in New Jersey. What does this mean for you? Well, if you're looking to invest or open a business in the cannabis industry but don't know where to turn to, well, have no fear. With over 12 years of experience in the cannabis sector and one of the original New Jersey cannabis pioneers, I, Dr. David Kunick at UCS Advisors, can help you navigate the cannabis industry and guide you through the investment process. To learn more, head to ucsadvisor.com, where we can help you achieve your greatness.
Murphy, Schiller, and Wilkes is formed with a simple purpose in mind, serving as a one-stop shop for the legal needs of developers, lenders, and others in the commercial real estate industry. Based in Newark, the firm's attorneys represent clients in the most complex real estate transactions and land development proceedings, as well as property taxation, environmental, and real estate litigation matters, and in the acquisition, sale, and leasing of all real estate asset types throughout the country. Their attorneys have broad private and public sector experience coming from top national law firms and high-level governmental positions. Through the development of individualized client-focused strategies, their team works tirelessly to create a blueprint for success and advance their clients' interests in every matter. To learn more, head to murphyllp.com or give them a call at 973-877-6984.
Driving on this road feels like forever.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Cam. We are here in Wall, New Jersey, right? I got that right. I forgot to check that before we did this. At Allaire Community Farm. Did I get that right, too?
That's correct.
I also should have checked that before we started recording with JoAnn and Sean Burney.
Yep.
Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. So this is, I've never been down here. Mutual friend introduced us, so now I'm here recording. I just told you before we started recording, some of our former guests have actually been here and told me what a cool place it was when I told them that I was coming down to record with you guys. So I'm excited, and thank you for having me in your home, too. This is not normally something I do, but this is great.
Yeah, always happy to get the word out about the farm and its mission. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming down.
Of course. So before we get into the farm and its mission, we're going to learn a little bit about the both of you. So you told me that 10 years ago you started Allaire, and then what were you doing prior to starting this?
Okay, well, Sean was doing real estate and property management and landscaping, and I, at the time, was teaching kindergarten.
Okay.
So really what had happened, I guess, right, honey, if we go back, and we had a real estate company in Asbury Park in 2008, I think everybody knows, kind of hit a wall.
Yep.
And he did primarily investment commercial real estate. So he needed to find a new career because nobody wanted to invest right then in real estate. And so I said, I got to stay home, raise our kids. And so I'll go back into higher education, which was my original career. How I had met our mutual friend was at Rutgers. I was a dean up there and loved higher ed, but ended up taking a leave to raise our family. And so I was excited to go back into higher ed. And I said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I either wanted to be an attorney or a farmer as a kid. And so we figured at our age, it was too late for him to go back to school and get his law degree. And so he found a farm in Wall. You want to talk a little bit about how that went about, hon?
Yeah, we had a partner that was going to come in with us to do hydroponic and aquaponic growing, and that was the model we were using. And then Sandy hit, and he owned a lot of real estate that was devastated from the storm.
Right.
So he had to back out. And at that point, we were looking, and everything we looked at, just property that was for sale for 15 years. We had a meeting to go look at it, and we showed up at the meeting and we're told he just made an all-cash offer, close in 2 weeks. And
not bad.
We had to walk away. And then someone saw a farm for rent in Wall Township. And what we did is we went over and we negotiated and we took over it on a lease. And it was in disrepair. It had been not run for probably 6 years. And we started turning around, getting it ready. We were looking for investors to do the aquaponic and hydroponic growing. And then,
can you explain what that is? In like I'm 5 kind of thing.
For hydroponic, what you're going to do is you're going to use a medium where you can grow with just using water.
Okay.
Whether you're growing in plastic tubes where the water is flowing through, the nutrients are in the water, and you harvest, it uses 10% of the water as compared to if you're growing in the ground. And your growing rate is a lot quicker.
Okay.
In doing that. New Jersey has in Newark a huge commercial warehouse that they've converted to hydroponic, and then aquaponic is using the same basis. And this is what intrigued us the most is with aquaponic, it's a big push in third world countries because it can become self-sustaining. So what you would use, typically you use tilapia fish, and they're put in a tank. Their water, which is the waste is in it, is then pumped through the vegetable beds. The plants are taking the nutrients from the wastewater, and then they're cleaning the water for the fish. So self-sustaining tank, if you can grow duckweed somewhere, whether it's in your system or just outside of it, you feed the tilapia the duckweed, and you can produce this. And when we started it out as our model, we did it in our basement. We had a tank with just one bed above it, and during the spring, we ran 3 beds outside and just pumped it to the high bed and gravity fed it back. We were able to eat tilapia through, I guess it was like February, and vegetables all year round.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. Granted, I'm not a farmer, but that's pretty wild.
So that was our concept to do it. Was we saw it as an opportunity to also help model that into different areas, into urban areas to start doing that. We soon realized God has a sense of humor. If we told you what the model of the farm was for day one, you would never find us. Never.
Yeah.
And so that growing was always going to be the component to the farming side, with being able to teach how to grow in the soil and be able to teach every medium that there is in growing, and then make it a profit center, to make the farm sustaining. And that was our original goal of looking for a farm.
Yeah.
But then soon after we took over this farm and started paying.
And when we say this farm, it's the farm that we're here. This one,
no,
right?
we actually,
it's a different
right
one.
next door. It was on Allaire Road. It's right around the corner.
Gotcha.
It was a 22-acre farm right around the corner that we were leasing. And we got a call. It was one of that really bad winter, like 10 years ago. You remember, It was just constant snowstorm after snowstorm. And they needed these animals rescued. And we didn't think about it. We're animal lovers. And we didn't really say, what does that mean? So we said, sure, we'll rescue them. We borrowed a horse trailer and went to a farm in Jackson, and these animals were just abused and frightened. And we brought home with us a donkey, 2 sheep, 2 pygmy goats. That was the first one, right? And an alpaca. Oh, 2 alpaca, Clyde and Al. And so we, had these animals here. And at the time, we were just like scrambling because the rent was high, and we were also supporting our home in Howell and the high taxes. So we got a friend said, you could make some money doing birthday parties, and so we started doing birthday parties because at the time I was teaching kindergarten. I had a built-in audience.
Well, before that happened, let me just word got out to the state police and the SPCA. There's a place you can bring animals.
That there's suckers on Allaire Road in Wall. Yeah. Take these
we went
animals.
to go look at a horse. Came back with 2 horses, a pig,
3 ducks,
a goose, and 2 sheep.
Yeah.
And so the farm became a full farm.
Yeah.
Within a couple of weeks. And the joke was
just like you drew it up.
Yeah.
The mutual friend who introduced us, when we first got chickens at our home, which we never thought of having that type of farm, sent us chickens are the gateway animal thing. And it goes into, now I need milk, I need to get a cow, now I need this.
Yep.
And JoAnn's classes, she started doing the class trips.
Right. We started doing class trips and birthday parties. And one of the parties we had, the family, told us there's a child who's autistic here and is nonverbal. And we're like, okay, we like to know that ahead of time. So when we're giving directions and whatnot. And so I had forgotten about that, and I was prepping for the party and walked by, and my dog was on, sitting there, and a little boy came up, and I said, "That's Lucky," and kept walking, and the little boy said, "Lucky." And mother starts crying, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, right.
We didn't know what had gone wrong. Or maybe Lucky growled or something. And apparently the child had never spoken before. And as the party went on, the child became more and more engaged and was...
He was on the, actually, Queen Esther, the big horse that we had just rescued, doing a pony ride / horse ride, and he started naming the letters in the dressage center out loud.
Wow.
Yeah. So it unlocked this child.
Yeah.
And
that was like, because I know we're going to get into it more in the second segment, but like the first time that you had seen something like this.
Yes.
It was our second birthday party we did.
Okay. Wow.
And that's when we got excited. And a friend of ours who was volunteering at the time, she said, you guys should consider switching your focus, become a nonprofit, and work with kids like this.
Yeah.
And so I started to get excited about it because I was applying to all these jobs in higher ed, and the doors were closing. I just wasn't even getting an interview. And for me, Sean and I try to live out our faith. A friend of mine finally said to me, the last job, because I was starting at dean jobs, and I said, all right, so I've been out of the higher ed for a while. I'll go to assistant dean, then I'll go to associate director. And the last job was an administrative assistant at OCC, and I couldn't get an interview for that.
Wow.
And my friend said to me, could it be that God has other plans for you?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, thank God. I thought it was me. And with that, I hit the ground running because I was like, okay, this is what you want me to do?
Right.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so we started going forward to do what we needed to do to become a nonprofit. Couldn't afford an attorney at the time, so Sean had a lot of legal experience from his days as a broker in real estate.
Attorney wannabe.
So I was also going to ask about that at one point. Sorry to cut you off real fast, but like farmer and attorney, like those are... I don't think I could, like my parents are attorneys. My mom's kind of like, she's sort of a farmer. We got a horse and a couple goats up in Sparta, but they're like two opposite ends of the spectrum. So interesting kind of path.
Well, we've known each other a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Once you know me for a couple hours, you'll understand. That may make more sense to you.
Got it. Sorry to.
Yeah, he's interested in everything. He loves to learn.
Right.
So, that's not surprising to me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing he can't do. There's very few jobs he's never held in his life. So, he's like a freak of nature, Sean.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah.
We looked at, it was one of the hardest forms filling out for the application. And Monmouth College University originally said that they could help, and then their legal department said no, because if something goes wrong,
yeah, right.
we don't want to be.
Exactly.
So JoAnn just said, fill it out the best you can. We'll send it in. They're going to send it back and tell us you did this wrong, that wrong. And Monmouth University had told us it'd probably take about a year to get it if all goes well. And we sent it in, and it was 3 months later. We got a letter. We were afraid to open it. Opened it. It said, we received your application. If we deem it to be completed in its entirety, please allow 6 to 9 months for it to get through. If we deem it to be incomplete, please allow 6 months for us to make revisions or tell you what you did wrong.
Right.
And that was on a Friday. Monday, we got another letter. I'm like, this can't be good.
Yeah. This is so wrong. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wow.
So
you're a nonprofit. You're now a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Further confirmation that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
that's amazing.
So that's how it all started. And then from there, we switched gears. Sean still loves the farming component, and he does that. His job is to manage this farm and to, the greenhouses and the gardens and the animals. And my job is to fundraise and to manage the programs that we have here.
Awesome.
So I get to use my administrative experience. He gets to live out his dream of being a farmer, and our marriage is a happy one.
That's good. Yeah. It's a good way to button up that first segment,
Which
I think.
is funny.
Oh, no, go ahead.
People will say, well, I told JoAnn, you don't know? And it's like, no, that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't not important enough, but it didn't have to be something to pass on to me.
Exactly.
Because we keep our roles, and
Yeah,
there's a lot
everybody
of
has
things we have
strengths
to
and-
meet
yeah.
on and figure out how we're going
Of
to
course.
handle something. But a lot of the things, you got it, babe? You got it.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to take our first break of the episode. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Wall, New Jersey at Allaire Community Farm with JoAnn and Sean Burney. We'll be right back.
My name is Chris, founder of FLK Method, where being fit does not feel out of reach. In fact, you're going to have fun when you show up for class. FLK also offers access to a supportive community, monthly partner challenges, and instructors who care. Not to mention our amazing in-person events, more than 20 styles of workouts, and on-demand channels designed specifically for your goals. Head to fitlikechrys.com, that's FITLIKEKRYS.com to learn more or to get started for just $25. Give yourself a chance to feel your best because that is exactly what you deserve.
All right, welcome back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Wall, New Jersey at Allaire Community Farm with JoAnn and Sean Burney. So in the first segment, we learned about both of your backgrounds and kind of leading up to when you start Allaire and all the signs that were pointing you like, go this way kind of thing. So we're going to learn about what goes on here, just so everyone knows. So can we do like a broad definition of what Allaire Community Farm is first, and then we'll kind of whittle it down and learn about the different programs and all the stuff that you guys offer.
Yep. Sounds good. So we are a commercial farm, 25 and a half acres, commercial farm with protection under the New Jersey Right to Farm Act. Because our neighbors sued us, so we got those protections. Oh, we are
neighbors.
open to the public 6 days a week. We have a petting zoo here. We also do riding lessons for the public. But our mission, we're a 501c3 in addition to that. And our mission is we rescue animals. And then we use these beautiful rescue animals and we work with special needs populations, at-risk teens, so teens with mental health issues, and which is off the charts these days.
Yeah.
And veterans with PTSD. We do therapeutic riding and driving, and we do programs for our vets here.
Awesome. Okay, so I think maybe one of the first things out of the gate is kind of like being able to, so you start a farm, and obviously like you know what you're doing. I'm not saying that you don't. But learning how to farm is a lot different than just kind of like reading about it and like knowing it that way. So you like are learning farming and then eventually also have to start like, I guess in a certain way, like learn how to deal with these communities that you serve, right?
Yes.
So like it's learning two different things and kind of like it, I don't know, but it's like building a plane while you fly it almost.
And being taken seriously.
Right.
Because, and then fundraising and getting donors on top of that. And the problem is, starting out, it was really hard because people don't want to give you money for something, first of all, that you don't own. We didn't own the farm over there. And so they're like, what are you fundraising for? Like, well, we need, a barn that doesn't leak. We need an indoor riding arena for our therapeutic riding and drive. But nobody's going to give us money for, something we don't own and to improve a rented property. So we did. Through a friend, we had a gentleman and his wife harassed for a couple years, the Corsons, and he was he's an ex-mayor of Wall Township. I think, what is Don now, 88 years old. He was a builder, a very successful builder in Monmouth County, and we knew if we could get through to him, we could get a tractor at least. We had heard he had all these tractors. Yeah. And maybe he could teach Sean about farming, it being, in the farming business for 60 years. Anyway, he came and the first thing he said is, love your mission, but nobody's going to give you money until you own a place. So you got to buy a place. So we said, okay, but we have no money.
Right.
And real estate's expensive in Monmouth County.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, we got to find something. So we took our personal money, savings, Sean and I, and we hired a consultant and we secured a government guaranteed loan with Manasquan Bank, which was a huge undertaking. Took us a long time, probably about a year, but we did it. And so now we had this money that we could go buy a property.
We had the commitment.
We had the commitment.
Yeah, right.
And the mayor at the time, who's now a commissioner, Nick DiRocco, loved the mission of the farm, wanted us to stay in Wall. So he was actively looking for property for us here. And he came up with this property that we're on Bailey's Corner. And it was too much money for us. And I said, I love the property. He said, would you consider it? I said, it's out of our budget. He said, well, what if the township bought the development rights? And I said, well, then that would bring us right into the amount of what we wanted to spend. So that's how we came to purchase this property.
We wanted our mortgage to be the same amount of what we were paying in rent. We felt comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you knew you could do
to be
it.
able to afford this.
So we went, so we agreed to do that. We signed a contract with the Dr. Cahill that owned this property, and we were going to close on it. And
I think you have to back up to the negotiations.
no, don't even. The man has passed on, so we don't want to. It's not fair to him. But let's just say he was right to be angry with us because we wanted to pay a lot less than what the property was worth. But anyway, long story short, we get the commitment. We have a big capital campaign up on the boardwalk at the Taylor Pavilion to say we're going to buy this property. We need supporters, and this is what we want to do. And it hits we have this great event, and then 2 days later it hits the CoStar that we're doing this, and we promptly get sued by our neighbors, as does Wall Township, and to prevent us from getting our permits. And so with that, the president of Manasquan Bank, who they had been supporting us with small grants all along, calls Sean up and said, Sean, we can't give you the loan unless the township writes a letter saying that you'll still get the permits, because otherwise you're a risk.
Yeah.
And so we called the town and they said, we'd love to, but they sued us too. So we can't do anything. And so with that, we had already been evicted the evictions had gone through by our landlord because
She was worried that we were going to take any business. It was a horse farm.
Yeah.
That we would make a premier site.
I got you.
So long story is we'd already had an eviction notice, so we couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, were suing us, so we had no money, and we spent our savings.
Yeah.
And so we were one day away from calling Ross up at the SPCA and asking him to rehome all of our animals. And this gentleman, Don Corson, pulls up with another gentleman and tells Sean that he wants to talk to us. Sean comes up in the bedroom, literally under the covers, because I was in a state of depression at this point.
Yeah.
We had 2 kids, one in college, one in high school.
We had sold our house.
We had sold our house in Howell, moved here in a rented farm that we were being evicted from.
Right.
Stress was to the
At
off
this
the
point, are
charts.
you just like, what were all those initial signs? that were
Yes,
telling
and
us to
that's
do
what I was
this? And
saying.
now
God,
we're like,
what did we do wrong here?
Yeah.
And then the gentleman said to me, he goes, I understand Manasquan Bank would give you this mortgage. I can give you the same terms, rates, no prepayment penalty, no construction inspections, because I'd have Don Corson do the inspections for me. And what was the other? No appraisal needed.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
wow.
So we went from
A day away.
we went from that to getting the full $1 million.
Well, I asked him, I said to him, I just took it as I know a guy in the mortgage business.
Yeah, right. Wink,
And
wink.
I went to
yeah.
JoAnn. She took her head out of under the blanket and said, can't hurt to talk with him. So we met with him on Monday, and he told me those parameters. And his criteria is he only lends to churches. We had done a VBS for our church at his farm, so he knew us.
Okay.
And I said, that's great, but we need to close in 10 days. And he goes, take me a couple of days to move the money. And
We closed.
Wow.
And it was a funny story because the neighbors, we had met at their house when we knew we were going to buy the property. We wanted to be good neighbors, so we were going to go meet with them. I asked for the meeting to say, what do you want? Do you want fences? You want trees? What can we do to be good neighbors to, as we build this project? Right. And they said to us, we don't want you here. We don't want your people here.
Oh.
And I'm like, which people? Is it the special needs? Is it at-risk teens? Is it the veterans? Who is it that you don't want here?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't answer that question. They said, listen, we know we can't stop you, but we'll bleed you to death. And so this is the mentality that we were dealing with. So Sean and I just got up and left that meeting. And so the day we moved down to this property, they were blindsided because they thought they won.
Yeah.
And it was a glorious day to see them marching back and forth, all of them with all these papers and folders, and you could see they were angry.
Yeah.
And they called the mayor and demanded who gave us a mortgage and all that. And it was just from that time on, it was full speed ahead. And
we had 10 more days to be off from the eviction date.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had to move almost 200 animals, build pens, fences, shelter.
in 2 weeks.
And we probably had 100 of our friends and volunteers
That's
driving
awesome.
anything they could. Kids,
Yeah.
12 years old, driving pickup trucks. moving stuff.
That's why, when Sean and I named the farm, he thought Allaire Community Farm was too long, and it is when you type it all out. But I was adamant. I said, if we're going to do this, we need the community's help.
Yeah.
We'll never be able to do this ourselves, and it's never going to be you and I, Sean. We're going to need a whole village of people to help us to accomplish what this vision that we had for this farm. And so we kept community in, and boy, the community came out, and boy, did they support us and help us. And, that old adage, you build it, they will come. We started building buildings, and then not only did the community come, but the donors came flooding in.
Right.
And,
slow. I wouldn't say flooding in the beginning, but we were blessed. We got an attorney. Dennis Collins came and took over the legal. Peter Avakian, all our engineering. We had to go in front of the Ag Board because they actually put a stop work order on our first building.
Yes.
And we ended up in court. They sued the town, actually zoning and the town. So the town had two attorneys. We had an attorney. Their attorney.
You guys are like taking punches left and right through this whole story. This is unbelievable.
But the thing that it is, see, when he said he could bleed us to death, he would have bled us to death had our attorney not had a special needs daughter, had our engineer not had a special needs son.
Yep.
I mean, all these people did it pro bono because they were,
they believed in what you're
They
doing.
loved the mission of the farm,
Yeah.
and they were angry that somebody was trying to prevent something that could help these populations.
Yeah.
And so
Or when they put the stop work order on the first two buildings going up, we got there. Their attorney rambled on for an hour and a half, and the judge you could see his head going, he's agreeing with them. And then our attorney got up, Dennis Collins, and said, Your Honor, I've known you 20 years, but with all due respect, you have no jurisdiction in this matter. It's the Farm Bureau, the County Ag Board, determines the Right to Farm Act. And then the town's two attorneys got up and said the same thing, and their attorney's like, they blindsided me. And our attorney's like, it's not my job to teach you the law.
Yeah.
And the judge said, this was on a Friday. I want briefs in my chambers on Monday. We're back in court on Friday. We showed up on Friday, and the judge goes, I do now know about the Right to Farm Act, and apparently all 50 states have some derivative of it, and I have no jurisdiction.
yeah.
And we got pushed over to the Ag Board, which we felt comfortable going there, but without our attorney and engineer, we had to do everything you would do for a large-scale planning board.
Right.
And it would have been about
$300,000
out of our pocket, which we didn't have, which
Yeah.
is what the neighbors were counting on.
Right.
But they didn't count on the good souls of these men that helped us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we've I wanted to make sure, excuse me, in this segment we do spend some time on the day-to-day type stuff. I know we touched on it a little bit in the broad definition. So you finally get everything kind of squared away. You're here, you're doing your thing. Donors start coming in. You have your community support and all that kind of stuff. So can you take me through some of the main programs that you do and maybe a little bit more specific?
Okay. So for the public, we do birthday parties, class trips, and riding lessons.
Okay.
So those are and then we'll do special events like the Christmas Light Spectacular will be going on this year. Right now, the Fall Harvest Festival is going on weekends. So we do have programs for the general public that go on we close to the public on December 23rd, and then we reopen April 1st. So those other times, 6 days a week, we're closed on Mondays. We have programs for the public. For our populations, right now, if you were to come, go outside, you would see aged out special needs program called the HOPE program. It stands for Harvesting Occupational and Personal Excellence. It's a 21 and older program that does pre-employment job training. And so our goal is it's a 2-year program to take these interns, we call them interns, through the program, have them graduate, and then either we hire them or we line them up with local businesses to hire them.
That's awesome.
And so that program's going on now. The reason we focus on, a lot of families will call and say, well, what do you do for the kids? We don't focus on that just because we want to do certain things well. And
Right.
When we first started talking about the mission, Congressman Smith, who's very big in the autistic, wrote a lot of autistic bills and all, and supports that community, said, JoAnn and Sean, the kids get so much support in the schools and there's programs for the kids, but at 21, when they're asked to leave the school system, the bottom falls out, and these families are scrambling to find good quality programs. So if you would you consider focusing on that population? So that's what we do. Now, we do things, we partner with POAC, which is for the younger kids, and we do activities during the year for the kids, but our focus is for the 21 and older population.
Right.
And so
Getting them to reach their optimum potential.
right.
Yeah.
And so that they're not just going to a day program. So like one young man now, Zach, he's in our program. He's an intern now, and he does our class trips. When Zach graduates this May, we're going to hire him immediately, and then he'll be on our payroll. We have another young man, Marcus, who has Down syndrome. He works in our market on the registers. His draw is always 100% on. So when Marcus graduates, we'll hire him.
Right.
The last building going up is going to have a commercial kitchen in it, and we're going to do culinary training in there.
Very cool.
And Joe Leone has volunteered to do some teaching. Rick Bott from Merrymakers Caterers, Marilyn Schlossbach from her restaurants all over in Asbury. They're going to come in, do some training, and then these young people are going to be hired either in our kitchen, because we're going to have a snack bar, or they're going to go out and work in the community. So that's our goal, that anybody coming through our program will be able to be either hired independently or with a coach. And they'll have a job that's meaningful and purposeful. Not to slam, cart pushers in the parking lot or baggers, but a lot of these young people can do so much more.
Right.
They just need the training. And
Yeah.
so that's what we do here.
Yeah.
So
And then when you do hire them, is it like, do you see them take next steps? I know it's like a 10-year window, so it's obviously like a limited window. But do you see them take steps into doing more stuff beyond here because they have like that real world training, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, the whole program is only now, we're in our 3rd year.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have any of that data yet, but I can tell you these young people, their confidence is building. They're involved in other things. There's we just started getting friendly with No Limits Cafe up in Middletown, which is a restaurant totally run by people with special needs. And so, their people are coming here, our people are working there. So there's that, crossover of supporting this population. So that's the special needs. We also started a program called the GAIN program, which is high school age students that have special needs that come here. And right now we're up to about 10 that come from different high schools every weekday.
With their high school.
With their high school, every weekday with their special ed teachers. And they're learning. And then hopefully they'll filter into the HOPE program when they graduate high school.
Yeah.
They have to leave at 21, and then we'll help them get jobs. So
And our HOPE interns are mentoring them.
yeah,
Okay.
which is kind of cool.
Right.
Which
So
is
you
really-
see the growth of someone who couldn't do something,
Yeah.
showing someone else how to
Yeah.
do it.
Right. Which I think is great because it kind of like, not, this is going to be like the wrong way to phrase it, but the burden on you guys to like run everything. But this is the whole point, is to get like them working together and everybody kind of rowing the boat in the same direction to a certain
Yep.
degree. Yeah.
We have to, in that vein, give credit. We have over 250 volunteers that
Awesome.
help make this farm go. It's
Yeah.
not us.
Right.
Yeah, but even like our stalls and all, we have a 20-stall barn, and a couple of our HOPE interns, Allison Jeffrey are amazing at mucking those stalls, keeping them clean, and they love doing it. And so, I have no problem believing 5 years down the road that this place will be run primarily by our special needs population.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome thing.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. Do we hit everything that we needed
There's
to
one
hit?
other
Go
program.
ahead.
We do what's called a sushi program. Commissioner Arnone had come to us about bringing an urban and suburban school together and teaching about growing. And SUSHI stands for School Urban and Suburban Healthy Initiative. So our pilot was Colts Neck kids and Asbury Park kids who were on one side of the greenhouse,
Right.
staring down the other side.
Yeah.
Within 3 weeks, they were harvesting tomatoes, taking bites, and sharing them. They then went on, the Asbury kids went to Colts Neck to help build a garden there, and the Colts Neck kids went to Asbury. And to see that transformation in the kids, there's no one telling them who you're supposed to like. No.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest things that we do.
And to show them that they can eat healthy, because particularly for the Asbury kids, it's hard for them to eat healthy.
Right.
And lots of Colts Neck kids had greenhouses in their backyards, but these kids didn't. So now, with having the garden there at their school, they were able to, sustain that and teach the other. The idea is that they teach the younger kids how to.
They're fourth
garden.
and fifth graders, so they
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah.
mentors in their school for the following year, which
Yeah.
West Belmar's, and they have an unbelievable program, as well as Spring Lake Heights is. They really push it. Both of them donate food to the food pantries.
Awesome.
From what they're growing.
Yeah.
But there's one other program I would be remiss if I didn't say is it's our at-risk program, and that's the harder one to advertise because nobody wants to say, "Hey, I'm at risk."
Sure.
But particularly now with COVID, anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies, thoughts, self-harming is off the charts. And so what we try to do, what we do here at the farm is I secured a grant. And for a young person who would struggle to go on an interview because they have low self-esteem, they can't make eye contact. They're just not going to be perceived as a future employer as somebody that, oh yeah, I definitely want to hire that kid who won't even look at me.
Right.
I secured stipends for them. And so we have probably how many on staff now? Maybe 25, 30 young people who otherwise would struggle to get a job, work here. And they could either work in the gardens, they can work in the barn, they can work with birthday parties, they can help with class trips, they can work in the market, wherever their comfort level is, and they're getting a paycheck. And I'm watching these young people go from sad young people who can't, look you in the eye to starting to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, I love that.
And kind of we have a zero tolerance bullying policy on this property. So there's, these kids that struggle in school are now have this tight-knit community of, like, we have one young girl who's been struggling in math. We have another young man who's a math whiz. He's going to tutor her this weekend.
Awesome.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So we're creating friendships and that otherwise wouldn't exist. And we're building self-esteem at the same time by giving them a paycheck.
Yeah.
And one of the gentlemen in the Hope program, he's a street performer in Asbury. He sings
cool.
and dances, and the kids went out to root him on.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so he had
Yeah.
a whole group of our
Groupies.
yeah,
I don't know how else to say it.
yeah. But he did. He had a whole group of them, and it just warmed our heart. I said to Sean, this is a great way to spend a Friday night, and Sean and I bought them all ice cream, and they're like our babies, because to see them, enjoying life and having friendships is just so rewarding.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love all of that. But we because we don't want to go too far over, we're going to take our second break of our last break of this episode. So that was a great segment. So good. So this is the Greetings for the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Walton, New Jersey today at Allaire Community Farm with JoAnn and Sean Burney. We'll be right back. The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes. Bored of going to the same park? Want to try a new local adventure? Well, then check out njspots.com, your home for finding a new spot to discover right here in New Jersey.
With dozens of maps to check out, local hiking spots, family-friendly places, and seasonal suggestions, NJ Spots is waiting for you to find somewhere new to explore. That's njspots.com.
All right, welcome back to our third and final segment of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We are here in Wall, New Jersey at Allaire Community Farm with JoAnn and Sean Burney. So in the first two segments, we learned about your background and what goes on here and the whole story and all the programs that you guys do, which, like I said at the end of the last segment, is just off the charts, amazing, love it, so happy that I'm here. Our third segment, which we do for every episode, is my personal segment, our personal favorite segment, which is our community segment, which obviously we've touched on different ways that you guys are involved in the community and the way that the community supports you. But we're going to try to see if we can dive even deeper into it. So one of the things that we were talking about towards, I know you had mentioned that community farm was obviously something that you wanted to make sure was in the name because of the support of the community. But one thing that I thought was interesting too is that you guys at the same time are also building communities that otherwise would not have existed prior to you running these farms or running the farm and running the programs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm assuming that you see that happening in more ways than one, right?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things we just started doing this year we're really excited about is once a month we do a fun night for our special needs interns and then their friends and then our volunteers. And so the last month we did a movie night, and then we bought them pizza and somebody made cookies and we got to serve them. And because what we hear from their parents is they're so lonely. They come home, they don't have any friends, you know. And so my goal was to find a way to create friendships and, that they had a community, that this would be a safe place for them to meet. So next month on the 18th, we're doing a talent night. I can't wait. Sean and I, we bought drums and we have a guitar and somebody donated a keyboard and, some of them sing. I'm just excited to see what their talent is going to be. And I was saying to this one young man, Zach, who's a singer and a dancer, I said, what do you think Bob's talent is? And Bob's a young man with Down syndrome. He goes, Bob tells wonderful stories. He goes, maybe he can tell us all a story. And so he goes around and tells stories to the animals, and the animals love him. Wow. They respond really well to being told stories. So that's one of the ways where I'm really excited about building a community with the aged out special needs populations. And, it's just a privilege. Our board heard about it. Our board of directors are next time we want to come and, serve them also. So we bring in pizzas and all. And, it's going to be a great, I think it's going to grow and grow and grow. So those are, one of the ways we create the community. The other is by not allowing bullying and, favoritism and all the things that go on in the world. We've created a safe place for, all the kids. So when you come here on a Saturday and you see all the people that work for us that are on our different payrolls and stipends, it's a very eclectic group. But they're a tight-knit group, and they will support each other. And, if somebody has a birthday party, there's a desire to make that person feel special. There's no competition among them or anything like that. It's just a true community. So, those are some of the things I see. I don't know. What do you see?
Well, I mean, the farm in and of itself fosters it. It was very hard moving in with vets, because neither JoAnn or I are vets.
Right.
The president of our board is, and even that was slow. The farm is free to any veteran in the family, and it was slow for veterans to start coming on those different things. And we did a barbecue last year. We had 30 more people than we had food for show up.
Yeah.
But they just had a meeting here, which JoAnn and I weren't part of, our president of our board. And it's a group that's been meeting, and the attendance has always been low. They had their highest attendance, and a meeting that was supposed to go for an hour lasted 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we had a meet around the bonfire. We had our staff before they left make them a nice roaring fire, and we put Adirondack chairs around it. And our tagline is "We nurture through nature." And I think people step onto this property, and they automatically begin to just breathe a little slower, and just they sense the healing nature of the farm environment. So, they didn't want to leave that night, the vets, and they had a wonderful time. And we were thrilled to provide the venue.
That's awesome. So you mentioned with the vets, it was like a little bit slow, kind of getting off the ground and all that kind of stuff with them. Was there like a moment in time, like 10 years the farm's been here, like the last several years kind of focusing on these programs and different things like that. Was there a moment in time where you saw everything start to like click with some of these different communities? Like, oh, okay, like we're on our way, we're doing it, like this is going to work and we're going to be good. Yeah,
I think we had our big fundraiser, we call it a hoedown, and it's our version of a gala where, it's like a big barbecue, and Merrymakers Caterers does it for free for us every year. And when we were on the old property, so that was 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago at this point, we had a hoedown, and one of our supporters brought a wealthy woman, and she came to the event, and she said to the person who brought him, they said, "What'd you think?" She goes, I think it's wonderful what they want to do, but they're crazy and they're never going to do it. And that was it.
$100.
She gave $100. She came back during COVID, the year that COVID hit, and right before the Christmas program, and asked for a tour. And we gave her a tour, and she started to see the buildings going up there. We had a few of the buildings up, and we had, that we had a place we owned and all. And she said, "How much for that indoor riding arena?" And I gave her a price, and I said, she wanted to honor her late husband. I said, for this amount, you can get the barn and the annex and the outdoor riding arena also. And she made a huge donation and named it after her husband, Dr. Robert H. Harris. And after she did that, the building started going up. People started to get excited. And then the same woman said, "I'd like to pay off your mortgage and see if you can, I will give you $1 million. Our mortgage was $1.8 million at the time. If you can raise $400,000, I'll match it." And she did. And she did. And so that's when it really turned a corner. Yeah. Because then it took all the pressure off of Sean and I to have to do all these ancillary programs that really had nothing to do with our mission, but had to do with paying the bills. And we could then just fully focus on our mission of the farm and provide a high quality experience for the public coming in, to the petting zoo and the birthday parties and the class trips. And when we were able to really focus and do that, it took off.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how just like one person or like one moment in time can just like totally define like the rest of time.
Yeah. It just catapulted us to the next level. Yeah. And the thing about, Monmouth County and people that are philanthropic is word spreads, and so there's a lot of competition for nonprofits in Monmouth County. But once your name is out there and you prove yourself, it's much easier to raise funds. And so, we were able to, our friends introduced us to other friends who introduced us to other friends. And before you know it, our core of supporters, grew, 2-3 times the amount that it was.
So. That's awesome. And then you mentioned, excuse me, how many volunteers do you have that help out here?
Over 250.
Yeah. And talk to me a little bit more about them and the obvious importance of having them support what you do here.
Okay.
I want to say we have 250. In probably another 4 weeks, we'll be down to 60.
Okay.
With the temperature, we lose a lot of people. But those people who are here, the animals have to be fed no matter what the weather is.
Right.
Twice a day. We don't feed unless someone can't make it. They have it. The facilities, the animals have to be cleaned up after. Someone that eats 15 pounds of food needs a lot of cleaning up daily, on the backside.
I know, yeah.
and with the cleaning, it's important because of our special needs population has heightened sensory issues.
Okay.
It can't smell here.
Yeah.
And so that would be difficult for them to operate here. So this place is immaculate, and that's something that people say all the time. It's so clean. The animals are so cared for.
I will say when I pulled up, I saw the chickens over here. but then I wasn't sure if you had animals because I mean, like I said, my parents live in a kind of like a rural part of Sussex County, and we did an episode very early on in the lifespan of the show with a farm animal sanctuary up in Montague. And that's like, they got 250 animals, and that's all they do. And as soon as you step on the property of places like that, you're like, I'm on a farm.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not going to smell it here. And it's, and it's because we have so many volunteers, and these animals are cleaned daily.
Yeah.
Every pen is cleaned daily, and it's because, it makes our populations more comfortable.
Yeah.
And we're always cognizant of that. So, besides the feeders and the cleaners, we have,
Her dad is 80.
Dad's going to be, he's going to be 87 in February.
He's here with at least one of his buddies twice a week building new homes for the animals. A lot of building a farm in 10 days when we moved here.
Yeah.
A lot of things were spit and glue put together, and we now have the finance to start building, good housing. And they're there. We have a guy, Jerry Defense. His wife was high up in Manasquan Bank. And when he retired, she gave him a list of all the nonprofits they support and said, you're not staying home. Jerry's over 4 going on 5 miles of fencing he's put up.
Wow.
Not to mention building structures.
Yeah.
We have birthday tour guides. We have class trip tour guides. We have petting zoo tour guides. We have market cashiers. We have, market, inventory people, tractor drivers, barrel train drivers, pony helpers, walkers, especially with people with disabilities. You need like 3 or 4 helpers per lesson. We have trainers. How many trainers are we up to now, honey?
Right now we have 3 trainers.
Okay.
And then we do a food pantry on Sundays. Whole Foods and Costco donates, and then our guys are taking stuff out of our gardens, eggs,
Right.
and putting that together. They help. We have someone who helps pick up stuff. We have people who drop stuff off. We have other nonprofits we train.
We have volunteers that never come onto the property and virtually do flyers for us and invitations and solicit sponsorships. And so it's if anybody has a skill,
you can find
we'll find a job for them.
Every concept of any business,
Right.
We need marketing, we need bookkeepers, we need all those different things that have to come into play. Someone to talk to insurance people, we have people helping us, our vehicles, keeping them running. The golf carts with a bunch of 12 to 80 or 90-year-olds driving them.
Right.
Go through a beating and need to be kept up. And,
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Okay, so our camera died, but that's okay. This thing is a piece of crap. But if people are listening to this and they want to be a part of that community, where can they go to do that? Like, how do they go? Is there a process?
Yep.
Is it you just go into the website? Tell me through that.
Everything is through our website, and it's www.allairecommunityfarm.org. If you go on there, there's a contact us page. Just fill that out, write your question, and it goes directly to me. I get everything sent right to my phone, and then I look at it and I say, okay, that's a therapeutic riding. I'll send it to our therapeutic riding and driving instructor. This is a question about birthday parties. I'll send it to the office for the person in charge of that. Class trip, same thing. So anything like that. If you have a need for our services, whether you have a special needs young adult, whether you're a veteran that has PTSD and could use some help, whether you have a young person with mental health issues that's struggling, again, just put that in, and it goes directly to me. It's very private. I read them all, and then I will determine, best way to help you. If you want to volunteer, there's a volunteer section. You fill out a short application, comes to me. We set up trainings 4 times a year, and then we'll get you trained and get you back onto the farm.
Awesome. So AllaireCommunityFarm.org.
Yep.
So that website will be in the show notes. So everybody that's listening, if they want to check that out, can go click that down in the show notes. Social media stuff.
Yep. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Is that all of them? We have
Is it at Allaire Community Farm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then the only other thing is, coming up is our big fundraiser this year, and that is the Christmas Light Spectacular, and that begins November 10th and runs through December 23rd.
Okay.
And so if you go to our website, it'll be right there on our homepage, and you can get tickets, and I guarantee you it's a wonderful experience. There's nothing like it. Sean and I did go all over New Jersey and look at the competition, and we think we beat it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a wonderful, fun family thing to do, but it's also helps us to keep the animals fed and provided for through the winter months, and our programs provided for when we close to the public during those 3 months.
And you do have to buy your tickets in advance. One of the things is we run 4 hay wagons. We don't want people waiting and sitting in the cold. So
Right.
Yeah.
we kind of run it tight, but we don't sell tickets at the door.
Got it. And this episode is going to come out maybe like a week or two after it starts. So it'll be
Okay.
perfect right during the time. So if people are listening to this and they want to go get tickets.
Yeah, and if we need to open up more dates because we're too busy, we will.
Yeah.
So,
Well, fingers crossed.
Yep.
Awesome. So this episode was tremendous. So thank you guys both for having me out to the farm and all that. I really appreciate it, and sharing the story and everything. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So to wrap up, like I said, the email address, the website, and the social handles will be down in the show notes. So you can go click that, along with greetingsfromtheGardenState.com, which is the website for the show. So this has been Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We are here in Wall, New Jersey today at Allaire Community Farm with JoAnn and Sean Burney. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Suck you